Hi everyone and welcome to another painting tutorial. So today I'll take you through how I painted this purity seal on my Raptors Eliminator. So I found the easiest way to get a really nice solid base coat is to use some grey cere just as a base coat, so a few thin coats of that, and then simply just apply some skeleton horde contrast mixed with approximately 50% contrast medium to the 50% of the skeleton horde. And so yeah, just apply that evenly and then just wait for it to dry. So with the skeleton horde now dry, I'm just going to move on to some screaming skull, and I've added a fair amount of water to this mix, and as always, just making sure I have my miniature in a pretty comfortable position. I'm just going to begin doing some nice fine lines all across the purity seal. So as you can see, they're really thin lines, and I do want to leave just a faint amount of the skeleton horde visible as well, just to give the purity seal a sort of worn-in sort of look. So I was really happy with how the Screaming Skull has come together over that, and now I just wanted to add some Vallejo Off-White. This is a really nice colour, it makes for a really great highlight to Screaming Skull and also to Wraithbone as well, so I highly recommend checking out this colour. And for the most part, just going to be following over the Screaming Skull highlights, also making sure I leave some of that Screaming Skull. And now just moving on to the final part of the purity seal. So I'm just going to be using some Vallejo black for this. Of course, any acrylic black will do just fine. And I did have some images of purity seals up in front of me on my computer. If you haven't painted these before, I recommend that you do the same. And just in general, it's always good to have one of these up as a reference. Now with purity seals, for the most part, I like to just have some pretty minor sort of scribble text. I mean, obviously the purity seals are quite small, so it is difficult to get proper writing on them with proper lettering and everything all the way across. With the exception of just getting the first letter on a purity seal at the top, just quite large. So for this one in particular, I'm just going to be doing an I, a capital I. And doing this just adds a lot of character to the purity seal, as opposed to just doing scribbled text all the way across it. And as you can see, really fine point on my brush. I'm just using my Raphael 8404 size 1 for this. And the paint is also quite watered down. Even more so to the fact that having it quite watered down will make it a lot easier to correct any mistakes if you happen to make a mistake on it. So as you can see, for the eye, I've just done 2 thin lines through the center and 1 at the top and the bottom. And as you can see now, just doing the scribbled text. Just trying to make the lines as fun as I can, but also just giving a little bit of movement to them, as you would, of course, when you were writing something down. And just to add a little bit more detail, I'm just adding some small little dot points at the beginning of some of the text. Now with the other part of the purity seal that I'm working on now, because a lot of it is tucked away under the front part of the purity seal, it can be a little bit more difficult to get the text. So as you can see, I'm sort of just working backwards there. And don't stress too much if you get some of the lines that are coming out a little bit too close to the edge of the purity seal, as you can always just go back and correct that with some of the off-white or the screaming skull. And as you can see, I'm just evening everything out just by going through the center of some of the text. Just very lightly though, as I don't want to take away too much of that detail. And here is a photo of the completed miniature and the completed purity seal, of course. So I hope you found this tutorial useful today, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again very soon.